What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Get Back. My name is Daniel, and this is our weekly hockey recap show. Talk about all things hockey all the time. Let's get right into it. It is Saturday, February 28th. It is 4:20 in the morning, and we're doing this. So let's get into it. So last week we talked about the women's gold medal game. Today we're talking about the men's gold medal game between the United States of America and Canada. Uh, this was last Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, in Milan Cortino. This was a very cool game. So we had a bit of a deeper breakdown over on the main show. Check that video out. We'll check out, that was instant reaction, if you would. Just a quick overview of the game and how it went. Both teams kind of started out meandering a little bit, trying to feel each other out. It wasn't until Matt Boldy broke through the middle, was able to split the two Canadian defenders, get the puck over Jordan Binnington, and he's able to get the United States on the board early on for a 1-0 lead. Game kind of, again, meandered there. Both teams kind of nipping at each other. Really no big breakthroughs. Both teams kind of try to fight that momentum, trying to grasp the momentum. USA was trying to figure out whether they wanted to back up or be more aggressive. Canadians were trying to, as quickly, get that, equalizing goal and keep the pressure on. Wasn't until about midway through the second period where there was a critical double penalty for the United States for the Canadians to have a big 5-on-3 power play. And shout out to the Americans. Their penalty kill was amazing. In this tournament, it was amazing. I think they went pretty much perfect the whole tournament. Just a quick tangent, that penalty kill was a huge part of their success in this tournament. Basically shutting down any momentum that teams had. Penalty kills kind of go under the radar in terms of a stat, in terms of a statistic, but it's a crucial part of the game, crucial part of a team's success. And this United States team had a perfect penalty kill. That comes with great scouting, great development, and great understanding of your team and your play style, and everything worked out perfectly in that regard. So great penalty kill by the Americans by midway through the second to, stave off that 5-on-3. But this is where the Canadians kind of took over the game a little bit. The momentum kept growing and growing and growing. They kept pouring shot after shot after shot. The United States, men's team couldn't get out of their own zone sometimes. They couldn't. They would end up being, stuck in their own zone. They had to just dump the puck in just to get a quick change. And that eventually builds and builds and builds, so the dam eventually breaks. And the Canadians were able to get their equalizing goal from Cale Makar. I was able to tie the game up at 1. And at this point as well, the Canadians continued to pour on the pressure. The United States men's team needed a whistle. They needed to get to the second period. They needed to, get out of the second period, get to the third period. They did hit a post. They hit a double post. And that was kind of the only offense they had in the second period. That's how dominant the Canadians were. So it was a very, very impressive period by the Canadians in that second, just pouring on the shots. I think it was like 18 to like 4 or 5 for the Americans. Like, it was a dominant period by the Canadians. And they continued that into the third. As they kept pouring on the pressure, they kept establishing zone time. They kept getting the puck in deep. And just over and over again, it was constant pressure. The Americans just could not get out of their own zone. And this is where they needed, somebody to step up. This is where they needed their big guns to step up. And it was their goalie, Connor Hellebuyck, who stepped up massively in this game. Massively. We cannot, not acknowledge the effort that he gave in this game. 41 saves on 42 shots. He was an absolute stud in the net. He made what I'm calling the save of the century. One of the saves of the century, where he basically just throws his stick behind him in a last-minute attempt to get the puck and is able to stop from going in as he basically robs Devon Toews. And then Nathan MacKinnon missing an open net as the puck was rolling a little bit also was a big factor in here. And then you get to the last 5 minutes of this third period where the Canadians were just dominant and the Americans just needed a breather, something to just kind of break that pressure. And they'll get it with a double minor from Jack Hughes as he's able to take a stick to right in the teeth, chipping his teeth, causing him to bleed, looking like a real hockey player now. But he takes one for the America, takes one for the team and for the boys. They get a 4-minute power play, and they're able to do nothing with it. And you just kind of felt like the balloon kind of deflate, because you felt like that was the Americans' chance. You felt like that was this team's best opportunity to really steal the game. And as we get further along into the third period, the Canadians and Jack Hughes commits a penalty. Apropos as it is, he is sent to the box for high sticking, and once again, this American penalty kill does their job, and they do it really well, and they can remain perfect throughout the whole tournament. So shout out to them. They were fantastic. They shut the Canadians down again, and they were able to force the game into overtime. And now it's anybody's game. It's anybody's game at this point. It's 3-on-3, 20 minutes, first goal wins. And it goes back and forth for a little bit. Both teams trying to be careful, trying to maintain possession, trying to find the best shot, trying to find the best moment. But sometimes things just happen sporadically. And Zach Werenski's able to take the puck, go streaming up the ice. He's able to win a puck battle. He's able to win a foot race against Cale Makar. He just reaches his stick out a little bit, and he slides it right over to Jack Hughes, who's wide open, and he buries the puck behind Jordan Binnington. And the Americans will win the game 2-1, as Jack Hughes is the hero for the United States. And he delivers their first gold medal in almost, 46 years, since 1980. This is a massive moment for the United States of American hockey. It's a massive moment for this team, as they're able to beat the Canadians for the first time in a very long time in a gold medal game. It's only their third gold medal in their history of the United States men's hockey. This is a rare achievement. This is a special moment for this group. And I think you can acknowledge that on the ice. You can acknowledge that in the game. You can acknowledge that in the moment. This was a special moment that this team portrayed, that they just achieved. We do have to talk about the off ice after the game and how everything kind of played out. This is a tough situation, right? And I'm going to phrase it like this. Obviously, you have, our FBI director being there, and Kash Patel being in the locker room in Italy, celebrating with them. It's a tough situation if you're the American team. You're not going to say no to him being in the locker room. It's not a great look for us if that's what he's doing. You have the president, making fun of the women's team and, that remark, and them kind of laughing at it, which they have apologized for. And, you have all the stuff and all the politicking going back home and, everything happening here in this country. And, it's a tough look for this group. And it's a tough situation that they were a part of. You just felt like they were in a bad situation to begin with. They were put in a bad spot. And, when you're dealing with egotistical people and you're dealing with, narcissism, and you're dealing with people who just need to make the moment about themselves, it's hard to kind of compete with that. And it's unfortunate that that's what happened here. It's unfortunate that there were so many selfish people who were trying to make this about them, who were trying to make this moment their moment. Instead of celebrating the team, and instead of celebrating the moment and the achievement, they chose to make this moment about themselves and to try to push themselves in a position of power, make them seem better. And that's kind of where I don't want this to go. I don't want to talk about Kash Patel. I don't want to talk about President Trump. We do that at a different time. We could have that different conversation. We might do it on Sunday on the main show. Go watch the main show if you want to hear that take, right? I want to take this opportunity. I want to take these couple minutes that I have. I want to take this, platform that I have, and I want to celebrate the team. I want to celebrate the men's and women's team for what they did, because this isn't an individual medal. This isn't an individual event. Hockey is not an individual sport. Hockey is a team sport. This is a team gold medal. The United States of America won the gold medal. This wasn't at any point, Brady Tkachuk's medal. This wasn't Jack Hughes' medal. This wasn't Connor Hellebuyck's medal. As much as they deserved it, and they deserve the praise for what they did in this tournament, it's not their medal. It's the United States of America's medal. And I want to celebrate this team for their great achievement and what it means. I want to celebrate both teams, the men and the women's team, because both of them did something that is so rare in this country. Hockey is viewed as the fourth sport, as the kind of throwaway sport, the sport that is not as popular, not as known. And hockey has continued to fight this uphill battle for a long, long, long time. It's never going to get to the level of football. It's never going to get to the nostalgia level of baseball. It's not going to get to the simplicity of basketball. It has been racing its own race for a long time. But now you feel like they're actually getting to the starting line. And while they're still behind, you feel like they're picking up the pace. That this tortoise is now going into another gear. That this is a turning point in this race. And that hockey now maybe is starting to look at basketball, look at baseball, and is starting to see their logos in the distance, is able to actually catch up to them. That's a crazy statement to make, I understand that. But what this group has done, and what this team has done, and you look at the viewership numbers, and you look at the excitement that this has brought to this country, and the joy, and the beautifulism in that moment for that little bit, you see what this sport can bring, and what sports overall can bring, sure. And hockey, it's viewed as a country club sport. It is. It's not an easy sport to get into. There's a lot of factors to get into it. With having to invest in ice skates, having to invest in a rink, to invest time and money and resources. It's not easy. It's not an easy commitment to make. It's a lot of work to want to be a hockey player in this country. But I think now, for the first time, I think kids and people are going to see, and teenagers are going to see, that there can be a reward for your investment. That there can be a place where if you are talented enough, where if you feel like you are good enough, that if you want to pursue this path, there is a pathway, and there is a victory at the end of the tunnel. The United States, both men and women, have given people that path. They've given kids this path. They've given them this opportunity to grow, this opportunity to expand their game, to play at a high level, to test themselves, to challenge themselves. They've put themselves on the global scale now where they've beaten the top team. They've beaten the top team. And granted, they got outplayed. But they still won. And that's what matters at the end of the day. They're not going to look at the game, the shots, the play itself. They're not going to look at all that. Who got the gold? The United States got the gold. And that's what matters here. This team and this massive achievement that they have. It's a rarity in this country that a gold medal was given, that they've earned a gold medal, and they beat a Canadian team in the Olympics. It's rare. I think it's not something that needs to be overlooked or overshadowed, but needs to be celebrated. And it needs to be, shown an accomplishment. And a lot of these players, they don't come from, the northern states. They don't come from, hockey states. A lot of them are from, very, very diverse parts of this country. They're not all, grouped together. They're not all in one spot. They're very much diverse, and they're very much spread out. Across both teams, you've seen that. They all are very, very unique in their own way. And that's what I think is very special and very cool about these teams. How different they are. And it goes to the level of commitment and the level of development and understanding that the organization has put in to United States hockey, and the commitment and the resources and the growth and everything overall, and how well they were able to do it. This is their payoff. This is their Everest. This is their moment. They've earned it. They deserved it. So shout out to the men's and women's team. They've done a great job. This tournament was fantastic to showcasing them. For the women, they were dominant. They were the best team, hands down. They've proven that time and time again. They were destroying teams left and right. And when it mattered against Canada, they were able to find their gold medal win. And for the men, a bit more of a struggle, but they were able to come together as a group. They were able to kind of, find what they were strength. They were able to kind of put their differences aside. It's so hard for a star to accept being a role player and to put your ego aside for a little bit, and be a role player and understand that you're not going to get top minutes, that you're not going to be the difference maker, that there is a bigger fish out there and you're not him. But you are a part of this team, and you have to play your role accordingly. And a lot of guys did that really well. And a lot of guys proved that they can do that, and they're willing to put their differences aside, their ego aside, and are able to come together as a team. I think that's something that some people can learn in this country. That your ego doesn't need to be as big as you think it is. And if you're able to put it aside, you can make great things happen. And you could create great moments. And I think this team came together, this men's team came together, and they played for something bigger. They played for something bigger than the medal, bigger than the game. They played for their fallen brother, Johnny Gaudreau, who horrifically got killed, and his brother as well, in a car crash accident, who should have been there. Johnny would have been on the ice, and they made a really touching tribute at the end of the game when they won the gold medal, bring Johnny's kids onto the ice, bring his jersey onto the ice, making him a part of that team, and showing that he wasn't forgotten and that they were playing with something bigger than themselves. That's a beautiful moment in time. That's a beautiful moment for that team. So, overall, a great gold medal game for the men's side. An earned gold medal for the United States men's team. They had a great tournament. They had a fun tournament. It was a great watch. Every game was spectacular. And real quick from the Canadian side, just straight up disappointment. I mean, this is a tough one to swallow. This is a tough pill to swallow. I mean, you were dominant the whole game. If we probably play this game 100 times, maybe they find their second, third, fourth, maybe even fifth goal. You know, it's a tough way to lose. And it's a tough, feeling to have, to lose to the Americans and to lose in that kind of fashion. And for it to come in overtime on 3-on-3 is what it is. But I think you can't take away what they accomplished as well. They pulled together a great team. Star players were over, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't get the job done. When it mattered most, their stars didn't show up, and that's kind of what made them fall fat. But they'll be back. They'll be strong. They'll be back in 2030. They're going to field a great team again. It's going to be a lot of fun all over again. But right now, congratulations to both the men's and women's USA hockey teams. They did a tremendous job. They've done great work that is hopefully going to continue into the future. Is going to continue to grow this beautiful game of hockey even further and continue to showcase what this game is all about and the beauty behind it and the team and that brotherhood and sisterhood and everything that is behind that moment and how special it is to win a gold medal. So, shout out to both of them. Great job. Great Olympics. And now we get back into NHL action. NHL came back on Tuesday or Wednesday. Came back on Wednesday. So I'm going to take this opportunity. A couple games did happen, a couple of moments did happen. But let's just reset. Let's just reset everything. Let's just have a general overview of where the league is, of where teams are, and how I feel about them in terms of the playoff picture. The trade deadline is next week, so we'll get into that as it comes along. We'll see who gets traded, who goes where, how it helps and hurts teams, and we'll go from there. But for now, let's just take a look at the NHL standings real quick. Let's take a look at, where teams are standing and kind of how I feel about them, if I think they're going to stay there, if I think they're going to move up or down. And we're going to start in the Eastern Conference. We'll start in the Atlantic. Tampa Bay Lightning on top with 80 points. I love Tampa Bay. I think this is the best team Tampa Bay's ever had. I think they're underrated. I think people aren't talking about them enough. They're stacked top to bottom. John Cooper is a fantastic coach. They have one of the best goaltenders in the league, and there had been injuries, sucks, so we'll see, where he's at with that. But overall, I think this Tampa Bay Lightning team should be fine the rest of the way. They're a solid team. They're going to be a threat in the playoffs. They always are. And if you give them home ice, that's even more dangerous. So, shout out to Tampa Bay, doing a great job. And I don't see them really moving from their spot as first in the Atlantic. Maybe even the President's Trophy coming down. And second is Buffalo Sabres. Shout out to Buffalo. This team is really good. This team is deep. They have a star in Tage Thompson. They have Rasmus Dahlin still on the back end. They're deep on the forward lines. They're still young. They finally are healthy, and they finally drafted the right young talent. They brought in plenty of young talent to the room. I think a veteran addition could kind of really help bring this group together. Just bring in some playoff experience, that kind of, not leader, but that kind of guy who knows what you're getting into. He kind of shore up that team a little bit, shore up the defense. But I think the key here has been Buffalo's goaltending with Levi and Lehkonen. They have been absolutely superb. I think finally figuring out their goaltending situation for Buffalo has been the biggest question mark that has been answered. They have a good goalie room. It works, and they're winning because of it. So, if their goal is to stay healthy and continue to play at a high level, this offense, this defense will be just good enough to kind of maybe even finish second in the conference. Like, they're that good. Um, and I think a really good trade deadline addition could be a nice veteran winger or a nice veteran defenseman just to kind of shore up that team a little bit more and bringing that leadership into the room going to the playoffs. Then there's Detroit. Detroit's fine. I don't think they'll bomb out this time like they did last year. I think they'll be fine. I think they have a solid group. Goaltending, I think, is kind of still their question mark. But Dylan Larkin's having a great year. This team's having a great year. I think finally, they'll break this shine that they've been on. I don't think I don't think they'll bottom out. I think they'll be okay. But overall, I think Detroit is going to be fine. Then moving on to the Metro, the top three there. Carolina first, still dominant. Nobody's stopping them. The only the only people going to stop Carolina is Carolina themselves. Yeah, they're a great team. They'll be fine. Kind of the surprise right now, the Pittsburgh Penguins. I didn't, really peg them for being where they are. They're second in the Metro with 72 points. They're pretty solid? Question mark. I like this group? Question mark. It's not bad. Look, I don't hate it. I think it's a very veteran group. I think there's some good young talent here. I think, are they overachieving? Maybe. But I think you can't deny how good they are and how good they've been, and that they're able to stay afloat in games. They're able to be consistent. They're able to kind of find a way to win. So I think that deserves credit. That deserves praise. I'm not sold on them yet. I think if they're able to bring in some key additions at the deadline, maybe bring another winger or two to help Sid and help Malkin, that can improve their scoring. And I think make them more of a threat. I don't see them coming out of the Metropolitan with this team. I think they need help, a little bit more help for me to be more convincing. I think it's the same thing with this team with the Islanders. The Islanders are a really young team, and they're healthy. The Islanders are a really healthy young team. That's a good thing. It's the first time the Islanders have been actually like really healthy, a part of Kyle Palmieri. So I think that's a big positive for them. But I think they need that veteran depth. They need that veteran winger to kind of help them in the playoffs, to kind of nurture this young group. I think Matthew Schaefer is great, but he needs somebody that could kind of protect him a little bit. But no, they've been healthy. They've been strong. I think you kind of see that when this Islander team is healthy, they're a really scary team. They're very deep. They have a lot of depth. They're a real threat, but I think they can kind of get a little bit better. They're up the middle is probably the best up the middle you're going to see with Horvath, Barzell, and Pajot. I think that's their biggest advantage. But I think outside of that, they could use some help on the wings to kind of improve their scoring a little bit more. And then the wild card race, Montreal, very similar situation to the Islanders, very young team. Could use some veteran help here and there. Nick Suzuki has been great. I think a couple more additions here and there can really help this group a little bit more. Cole Caulfield's had a great year as well. So I think just a little bit more veteran depth can kind of help this group. I don't see it, being a contender. I think they'll get into the playoffs, but I just think they need a little bit more to be taken seriously. And then Boston. Boston's kind of teetering. They've been good and bad. They've had good goaltending stitches. They've had, a lot of injuries. Pastrnak's had an up and down year. Morgan Geekie has been the biggest surprise in the NHL, having almost 30 goals. So, there's that. So, I think that is the thing with Boston. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. It kind of justifies where they are. I look at Washington, who's right behind them at 69 points. I kind of like Washington a little bit more. I feel like they can get over their own hump, and they could overtake Boston right now if Boston doesn't really fix themselves. But I think Washington has a really good opportunity to kind of overtake Boston here and make some noise. If Boston does slip up, I think Washington's right in the position to really take advantage of it. And then the rest of, Columbus also in there as well. I think they're having a great year, but I don't think they have enough. I was disappointment. Florida, I mean, Philly has been Philly. That's never going to change. Florida has been injured. They've been in hospital beds. It's been bad over there. Toronto, Toronto. The Maple Leafs. Oh, God, the Maple Leafs. The Devils as well. They've just been so hurt and so injury prone. And then the Rangers, and we're moving on. The Western Conference. Colorado, the best team in the NHL. Colorado's the best team in the NHL. Like they're the best team in the NHL. I'm sorry, they're the deepest team. They have the best player, Matthew McKinnon. But Colorado's fine, and if they get Nazem Kadri, they can be even better. So Colorado's scary. I don't see a team in the West beating them. They're that good. Minnesota, kind of a surprise team here. I think they're really deep as well. I think, again, their goaltending has been their biggest problem, and they fixed that this year. They have a consistent goaltending core and a goaltending group. Kaprizov has been great. I think you're starting to see this group kind of come together, this young-ish group now growing older now. I think if they can get over that first-round hump, I think they're kind of a bit of a scary team in the West. Dallas has been a bit underperforming. I think you expect a little bit more from them, but that being said, they're still great. They're still deep. Their scoring is disgusting. Osman needs to get better. Jake Onger needs to get better a little bit. I think he needs to be more consistent. But Jason Robinson's a stud. Jamie Benn's a great leader. They have some great talent over there still. So don't count Dallas out. I think there could be a sleeper in the playoffs as well, depending on who they play. So the Pacific, the Golden Knights, they're good. Not great. I think this Pacific Division and this West overall, there's the top, and then there's the rest. I think, the Pacific is a very, very interesting division. I think it's a very competitive division. Do I think a team's going to win that division? No, I don't. But I think there's a lot of fun teams in here to look at. I think like Anaheim finally coming together, sort of like a Sabre situation. And you're seeing in Buffalo where this young team is healthy. They finally got their depth. They're finally starting to grow as a team, and they're taking that next step into that next level. So you're starting to see Anaheim really emerge. Edmonton, goaltending has been better. I expect a second half push from them. I think a deadline addition could be on D-line could be very important for them, getting a big body defenseman that they need. I don't want to count Edmonton out. I think McDavid and Draisaitl still is a disgusting pair. You don't count those two out. I think they need to make a deadline addition. I think they need to go out and trade for a great defenseman to help this team out. I think they're right there still. I think they're healthy and they're strong, but I think going against Colorado or Dallas or even Vegas, I think they need to get better defensively to handle those teams. Utah, good for Utah. Good for the Utah Mammoth for being in the situation, being first in the wild card. Do I think they hold on to it? Probably, just because I don't believe in anybody else in here. I mean, Seattle is Seattle. I don't think they're great. It'd be cool if they get in. Nashville is kind of a bit of a sneaky surprise, but I don't really see them being that much of a threat if they're able to get in. It'd be a cool story, but Nashville I don't think is that strong. The Kings are going to be the team to look out for. They just added Panarin. They're getting healthier. They have a lot of veterans on that team and some really good young talent. So I think that is kind of the team to look out for. And then the Sharks, could be the cool story, but I think they're too far down. But I think the Kings, if there's one team to look out for, it'd be them in the second half. I think they could kind of make this final push that they need to get into the playoffs with Panarin and their key additions coming back. So look out for the Kings. Winnipeg. Just been hurt. Calgary, Chicago, St. Louis, and Vancouver. That's the West. Yeah, pretty bad. But that's been kind of like the recap of where teams are. Kind of been an understanding of where everybody is. As we get into the final 2 months of the season, they're gonna come fast. Games are gonna be quick. Teams are gonna move up and down. Points are gonna be spread out all over the place. How it looks now is gonna look very different in a week. It's gonna look very different, in a month, in 2 weeks. It's going to move. Teams are gonna move. It's gonna be very fun. The trade deadline is going to be very fun. A lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. But thank you for staying. Thank you for being here, listening to me. Again, shout out to the USA women's and men's team for winning gold. If you like this content, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Check out all the content. Check out the main show coming in on Sunday. Make sure you have notifications turned on. Make sure you follow us on social media at The Get Back Sports on Instagram and TikTok. Let me know if you want me to cover anything else you want to talk about. Put it in the comments down below. And like and comment and subscribe. It's cool. We're a fun show. It's fun. Anyway, I've been Daniel. This is The Get Back. This is a hockey recap show. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.